Hi, it's Emily Leiphart from Art from the Heart, and in this video I'll be creating 2 Mama Elephant cards using the gradient stamping technique with both inks and glitter. After I shared this glitter feather card during the November Stampede, Chrissy asked if I could share a how-to, so I'll show you how I did that in the second card. For the first card, I cut a card base for a 4 1/4 inch square card and scored it down the center but left it unfolded so it would be perfectly flat for stamping. I've chosen the Birthday Wishes sentiment from the Fair Feather stamp set, and I'll stamp that in the bottom left-hand corner. The feathers will be floating down from the top right-hand corner. I'm going to show this gradient stamping technique in real time for the first feather and speed it up for the remainder of the card. I'm using the Memento Luxe inks in Sweet Plum and Lilac Posies. With pigment inks, you can stamp either the light color or dark color first, and you'll see me doing both on this card. Applying a darker color to a lighter pigment doesn't affect the color. However, if you're using dye inks, you'll want to be more careful since applying a dark ink to a light dye ink pad will adversely affect the color of the ink the next time you use the stamp pad. I'm going to take the large solid feather stamp and roll the image from the base up to the tip. I'll do this over and over, but always apply more pressure toward the base. As you can see, the top of the feather barely touches any ink. For the second color, I'll use the same technique but roll less of the image onto the ink pad and use an even lighter hand so it doesn't pick up quite as much ink from the second color. After stamping the image, you can see the two colors distinctly as well as the transition between the two colors, but it blends so nicely with the rolling technique. So next up are Nautical Blue and Bahama Blue. Following that are Bahama Blue with Danube Blue. Then comes Rosebud with Love Letter. Next I use Rosebud again, but with Angel Pink. After that I use Dandelion and Morocco. And finally Galaxy Gold with Peanut Brittle. Since this final feather would affect the back of the card, I didn't want it wrapping around, so I'm using scrap paper as a mask. So now all of the stamping is finished on this first one-layer card. Each feather was gradient stamped using the rock and roll technique. It's more rocking than rolling since it's not the edges that have changed color. If I was using a rounder image, then I could roll it to get a sunburst effect with color radiating from the inside out. For my second card, I've cut a standard A2 size card base, and I'm going to stamp with the essential glue pad. The rolling technique will also be applied because it affects the amount of glitter that adheres to the card. I'm going to use the Essential Glitter Pack from Martha Stewart. It contains a beautiful range of gradient colors that makes this technique easy. On this card I will put the sentiment in the opposite corner from the first card and have the feathers radiating out from it. I'm going to use the You Are Simply Wonderful sentiment from the Smitten stamp set. I didn't apply even pressure, so I needed to line up the sentiment again and make sure the top of it was stamped. Fortunately, with clear stamps this is easy to do. Much like my Stampede card, I have to stamp the outline of the feather, so I'm going to stamp it 3 times in a ray formation. Once again I use a piece of scrap paper to mask off the back of the card. Then I'm going to take the obsidian, graphite, and white gold glitters to recreate the look of my Stampede card. Together they have a pretty ombre effect, but they're going on one image to create a gradient look. Now I'm going to roll the solid feather in the glue pad, but first I'm going to refresh it with the reinker. Just like on my Stampede card, I want to make sure that I don't get very much glue on the top half of the feather, if any. I want to roll very evenly because the amount of glue affects how much glitter adheres to the card for that part of the feather. I want most of the glitter to stick to the base of the feather. You can't really see the glue on video, but I'm showing it to you anyway. Next, I just line up the solid stamp with the outline and press down evenly, just as I would with any other stamp. And once again, I'm showing you the glue that you can't see. It's a little like invisible ink, but you'll be able to see it when you're using it yourself. Next, I take the darkest of the glitters and sprinkle it sparingly at the base of the feather. I will add the medium color to the next section and keep moving along the feather with the lightest color. I sprinkle sparingly because I trust my rolling technique against the glue pad. The glitter won't end up everywhere, but exactly where and how much I want. After flicking off the excess, you can see the beautiful results of this technique. Now I can repeat the process for the remaining 2 feathers. On this last feather, I just want to point out how easy it is to line up the solid image with the outline image. Just look for the openings on the edge of the feather, specifically the 3 that I point to and perhaps the stem, and your stamped images will line up perfectly every time. Now the card is finished. Isn't it amazing? I'm so addicted to making cards with my glue pad and glitter. Even 1-layer cards like this have an impact. You can let this air dry, but I like to heat set it. I've tried it both ways, but heat setting makes the glitter adhere to the card better. Now that both cards are dry, I fold and flatten them with my bone folder. So there you have it, 2 cards that use the gradient stamping technique, one with inks and one with glue and glitter. I hope you're inspired to try out this technique. There's a shopping list below if you want to purchase any of the supplies I used. Thanks so much for watching.